Could the universal savings account potentially replace both the HSA and the Roth IRA? A few weeks ago, I did a video on what Congress proposed to do about the health savings account or HSA. So if you haven't watched that, I'll put the link in the description below. Also, in that video, I said that I was going to give you a breakdown of the universal savings account. So here I am, because there's a bill in Congress right now called HR 9010, Universal Savings Account Act of 2024, that's currently sitting in the Ways and Means Committee, which I'll get into later on in this video. This HR 9010 doesn't say that it's going to replace the Roth IRA, but there is a proposal in place to potentially replace the HSA with a USA by the Ways and Means Committee. So could this universal savings account or the USA coexist with the Roth IRA, or maybe even replace it? Anything is possible, but no one knows for sure until it makes it to the final bill. But if it does happen, it could change the way we save, invest, and plan for the future. This thing, the USA or the Universal Savings Account, has people buzzing because the concept came out so many years ago, and now it might become a reality by injecting a whole lot more flexibility into your savings game. So naturally, I had to dive in head first, because if Uncle Sam's given us a new tool to grow our money tax-free, I want to know everything, and I bet you do too. Let me first read to you what this says from the Ways and Means Committee. It states this option would replace health savings account with a $9,100 universal savings account indexed to inflation. While it would raise revenue by $110 billion in a budget window, it would have a small cost outside of the budget window. And this is a tax foundation score. So let's talk about this mysterious government body pushing this change. The Ways and Means Committee, if you've never heard of it, don't worry, you're not alone. You see, this committee is like the VIP room of Congress for tax policy. And what happened is that it recently floated the idea that instead of health savings accounts, Americans should get access to a universal savings account with a juicy contribution limit of $9,100. And yes, that number will be indexed to inflation, meaning it'll grow over time. So this proposal shows that Washington is looking for another savings tool that allows people to pay their taxes up front on their contributions and let them grow tax-free. While tax-free growth may be popular to many people, replacing the HSA is not at all. Now, here's a throwback some of y'all financial nerds probably remember, and that's the Tax Reform 2.0 from back in 2018 when the USA first made its debut. The concept was simple: give people a single flexible savings vehicle that grows tax-free and doesn't come with all the strings attached like other accounts. It didn't get much traction back then, but now in 2025, it's back with a vengeance, and for good reason. People want to save, but they don't want to read 16 pages of IRS rules just to withdraw a few bucks. And I've said this several times about the Roth IRA rules and how dumb they are, that you have to wait 5 years to make distributions. There's the 5-year contribution rule that you have to keep your Roth IRA open for 5 years. And there's another rule about the 5-year conversion. So if you make a 401k to Roth IRA conversion, you have to wait another 5 years to make a tax-free withdrawal and wait until 59 and a half to make a penalty-free withdrawal. It's pretty dumb that you have to wait 5 years and or 59 and a half, even though you already paid taxes on the conversion. I hate them, and I want those rules repealed completely from the Roth IRA. Now, not everyone's clapping for the universal savings account, and some have pretty strong opinions on it. Like in my comment section, that most people are against replacing the HSA with a USA. I'm against it too, because it takes away the pre-tax benefits, which lowers your federal income tax, state income tax, except for California and New Jersey, and your payroll tax if you make a direct contribution from your paycheck. And the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, or the CBP, from 2018 was also against the concept or idea of the Universal Savings Account, or USA. And basically, this is what they're saying. Think twice before you get too excited about these new universal savings accounts. Why? Because they think this whole idea, while it sounds shiny on the surface, is actually a pretty bad deal, especially for regular folks who are just trying to get by. You see, the USA allows people to put in after-tax money and let it grow tax-free and then pull it out whenever for anything. No penalties, no strings. Sounds amazing, right? Like a Roth IRA, but with fewer rules. But the CBP's take, it's mostly a tax break for the wealthy dressed up as a help the middle class policy. That's their opinion. And their argument goes like this: wealthier households already have extra money sitting around. So they'll be the ones who can actually use these accounts to stash cash, let it grow tax-free, and reap the rewards. Meanwhile, most middle and lower income families are just trying to keep up with bills. They're not exactly sitting on a pile of cash to throw into yet another savings account. So even though technically everyone could open a USA, in practice, it's the upper income crowd that would benefit the most. And the cherry on top, the government would lose a chunk of tax revenue because these accounts make investment earnings tax-free. That money has to come from somewhere, either from higher deficits or cuts to public services. CBPP believes that the federal revenue would increase in the next 10 years because taxpayers are paying their taxes up front for the USA contributions, but the federal government would then lose revenue after 10 years because it wouldn't collect taxes later on withdrawals of funds that would have been in a 401k. So in short, CBPP is saying the USA proposal is kind of like giving out golden tickets, but only the rich can afford the chocolate bars. And let me know what your thoughts are on their take. And do you agree or disagree with their opinion piece from 2018? And I personally love Roth because I would rather have the government be completely hands off of my retirement savings. Now, let's talk about the actual legislative name behind this push, which is known as HR 9010, aka the Universal Savings Account Act of 2024. It was introduced on July 11, 2024, and while it hasn't exactly blazed through Congress yet, it's definitely in the room where it happens. It is now currently sitting in the Ways and Means Committee. Here's what it would do. You could contribute up to $10,000 a year into a USA. And yes, that limit would go up with inflation over time, so it doesn't get in the way by rising costs. The money you put in has to be after tax, so kind of like a Roth IRA. But here's the sweet part. Everything in that account grows tax-free, and withdrawals also tax-free, no restrictions, no penalties. Do you want to save for a house? Go for it. A vacation? Sure. A surprise dental bill? You got it. That's the flexibility this USA is giving us. You can take your money out whenever you want for whatever you want, tax-free and penalty-free. Not waiting until you're 59 and a half. No using it strictly for retirement or medical expenses. But like anything else, there are downsides. And in this case, it's the income limits. And once your income reaches over a certain threshold, $200,000 for individuals, $300,000 for heads of household, and $400,000 for joint filers, your contribution limits gets phased out. So they are trying to limit the USA to people making less than $400,000 a year for someone like me who files taxes jointly with my wife. And there's also no backdoor option like the Roth IRA has. Now, if the account holder passes away, the account can be passed on to a spouse or a child who then becomes the new owner. So basically, it's designed to be a super flexible savings vehicle for everyday Americans. And you can save for emergencies, a new car, your kids' braces, or just life in general and not get punished by the IRS. Now, let's talk about what the Tax Foundation has to say because they've been one of the loudest cheerleaders for this whole thing. According to their deep dive analysis, USAs could dramatically simplify the current landscape of retirement and special purpose accounts. Think about it. We've got Roth IRAs, 401ks, HSAs, and 529s, and every one of them has its own rules. It's like trying to navigate Costco with tax forms, right? That's why the Tax Foundation argues that the USA would cut through all that noise, reduce compliance costs, and boost financial security, and especially for middle-income Americans who often get left out of the tax benefit game. All right, now let's talk savings because right now it's a mess. Americans have been through a lot lately. And first there was COVID, then inflation hit like a truck, interest rates shot up, and now everyone's struggling to afford the basics. And people used to have some pandemic savings, but that's been wiped out, right? And these days, most people are living on credit cards, draining their retirement accounts or barely getting by. And the average savings rate is around 3%. And just when people were hoping things might stabilize, the latest curveball hits. President Trump has initiated mass layoffs of federal employees, and thousands of public servants are now suddenly out of work, adding another layer of financial stress to an already overburdened middle class. And many workers thought government jobs were the safest career in the world. And that's why now, more than ever, people need a way to build savings they can actually access when life turns upside down. And the frustrating part, the system we have to help people save is way too complicated. And we've got over a dozen different savings accounts, 401ks, IRAs, HSAs, 529s, and FSAs. It's like financial alphabet soup, right? And they all come with their own fine print. And most of them are focused on retirement. And you usually can't touch that money without penalties until you're a lot older. And I think that's one of the many challenges for people on their FIRE journey who focus on early retirement, because most of our retirement accounts cannot be accessed until we're 55 with the 401k or 59 and a half with the IRA. And that's where universal savings accounts or USAs could come in. And they're not just some fantasy, right? And other countries like Canada and the UK have already made them work. In Canada, they were called TFSA, and you put in after-tax money in a gross tax-free. You can pull it out whenever you want or whatever. And same thing with the UK's ISA. And guess what? People love them. And especially younger and lower income people who don't have the luxury of locking up money for 30 years. So why don't we have something like that here? And please don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to sell this to my audience just by, but just merely relaying what the Tax Foundation has said. And I want you to be aware of it. Well, the Tax Foundation says we should, and we've got the numbers to back it up. They model what would happen if the US roll out a Canada-style USA starting in 2025 with a $9,100 contribution limit. And to keep it budget-friendly, they suggested ending the tax perks for future HSA contributions with the old HSAs staying untouched. So here's what they found. The government would actually gain around $110 billion over 10 years. Another thing, the lower and middle income households would benefit the most because financially, there will be a savings account that actually works for them. In the tax code, it would become way simpler. Now, would this make the economy boom overnight? I don't think so. The long-term effects on GDP and jobs are pretty neutral, right? But that's not the point. The real win is this. Millions of Americans would finally have a tool that makes saving feel possible again without penalties, restrictions, or confusing paperwork. And honestly, that's huge. And think about it. If you had a simple, no hassle account where your money could grow tax-free and still be available for emergencies, wouldn't you use it? That's exactly why these accounts have exploded in popularity in Canada and the UK. In fact, over half of Canadian adults have one, including a huge number of lower income households. So what's the key takeaway here? Let me give you my honest opinion on this. Our current savings account or savings system is outdated, overly complicated, and honestly out of touch. It is. And that's why a universal savings account could be the actual Roth account that we all need. It's flexible, fair, and proven to work in the real world. And if it's done right, it could finally make financial security more than just a buzzword for everyday Americans. What I do not agree with is taking away the health savings account, because only about 15% of Americans actually take advantage of the health savings account right now. And if I had any say in Congress, I would make the HSA and USA sit side by side and make them work for the average Americans. Taking away the pre-tax benefits for the HSA is not going to solve the overall spending and deficit issues. And Congress should not touch the HSA unless they're going to enhance it, like what they proposed with the HR 5688 and HR 5687. So here's the truth. Most people are not looking for a fancy tax loophole, and they just want a fair shot at building a secure future. And they want to save for a home, for their retirement, or for their kids without jumping through 1,000 hoops or worrying that one wrong move, it's going to cost them everything in penalties and taxes. That's why this universal savings account conversation matters, because it's not just about policy or projections. It's about people. It's about making the system simpler, more flexible, and more humane. It's about giving everyone a chance. So I do support the USA, but I won't support it if it's going to replace the HSA. So let's keep pushing for systems that work for everyone, because everyone deserves a chance to save, to grow, and to thrive. And this has been another beast of a video, and I hope you got a lot out of it.